In this agentic era, we've all been hearing a three-letter acronym a lot, which is MCP, that stands for Model Context Protocol. And there's another platform called n8n, which is also in talks these days. And the thing is that n8n has launched its own MCP. Now, I know it can get a little confusing for some of you, and that is why I'm recording today's video. We're going to start by understanding what is an MCP, how is it different from an API, then we're going to take a closer look at n8n's MCP, we're going to set it up, and we're also going to see some really cool use cases. So let's start off with the first question, which is what is an MCP? Now, MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, but that in itself does not tell us a lot about MCP. So in simpler words, MCP is the missing plug that finally lets AI do things and not just think. So you can think of it as a shift from generative AI, which would just give you answers, to agentic AI, which would actually do tasks for you. So right now, AI mostly works from its trained data, which means it can reason, it can draft, it can explain, it can give you step by step, but it can't really go into your apps and take real actions. And that is where MCP comes into play. With MCP, AI can open tools, run actions, fetch real data, and also update systems. So in short, it turns AI from a smart chat partner into a real assistant that can actually get work done. So for the people who are a little techie, they would ask me, how is it different from an API? Because API also does a similar job of connecting to different platforms. So basically, API is the old school way of connecting to external apps. It's rigid, technical, and every app exposes things differently. So API works differently for different platforms. So now talking about the difference. So you can think of it this way. If APIs are for apps, MCP is for AI. So APIs weren't really designed for AI agents in the first place. It was designed so that two different apps could communicate with each other. But MCP is solely designed for AI. It tells AI exactly what tool exists, what actions it can take, what inputs are needed, and how to run them safely. So as I said, APIs let software talk to software, and MCP lets AI talk to anything. So it's not that you can't connect an API to an AI app. You can do that. But as I said, every app exposes things differently, which means you will have to set it up differently for different platforms, and that can take up time, and there are a lot of errors. It's a headache. But in case of MCP, there is a single URL you have to deal with, and it is consistent and uniform throughout platforms. So now that we've understood what an MCP is and how it's enabling AI apps to take actions, now let's go ahead and understand what is n8n's MCP and also the before versus after of it. So n8n never really had this AI plug before of an MCP, but some people were smart enough to find their own ways of using n8n as an MCP. But it wasn't a cup of tea for everyone. So before, AI couldn't really see your workflows or run them. Everything needed manual triggers, APIs, or webhooks. But now, after n8n's MCP, AI can discover your workflows, means it can search what are the different workflows available on your account. It can trigger them, meaning it can run them. It can send inputs. So basically, if you type anything in the chat, it can actually send that to your workflow and use n8n like a real toolbox. And now it's everyone's cup of tea to set this up because of how easy it is to set it up, which I'm going to show you in some time. So it's basically the moment where automation and AI agents finally meet. And that is exactly what we called agentic AI. So now let's talk about the real-world use cases and examples so that you can understand it better. And then we're going to go ahead, set it up, and we're going to see it in action. So it lets AI apps talk to n8n as if n8n is a part of their brain, which unlocks real-world use cases. For example, vibe coding platforms can now directly engage with n8n. For example, if you want to connect n8n to Lovable or to Replit or to any other vibe coding platform. So now it's easier than ever because of the MCP. And why people need this functionality is because n8n is sort of a backend layer and you need a front end for it. And that's where these vibe coding platforms come into play that help you design a front end. And now in order to connect the front end and the back end, you no longer have to use those rigid ways. Instead, you can directly do that using an MCP. So it has basically made creating AI apps much easier. Apart from that, it can also let your chat assistants, for example Claude, to act as a front end for running your automations on demand. So let's say you have 10 different workflows inside your n8n account that you use actively. Now, some of them could be scheduled, which means they run on their own, but some of them could need your inputs. Now, instead of managing 10 different places to give them inputs, you can directly use Claude as your front end. You just tell Claude that please run so-and-so automation, here are my inputs. And on demand, you can run your automations and see the results right there. So let's take an example. So we're going to assume that I already have this automation set up on my n8n account. I just got off a client call and now I want to do a couple of tasks. So this is the command that I'm going to send Claude. So Claude, I just got off the call for this client. Here are the project details. Then I can maybe share the transcript of the meeting or something like that. And then I'm going to ask it to generate a contract, send it, create an invoice, send it, and notify the team on Slack to start onboarding once the invoice is cleared. So instead of you going ahead and running these 3 different automations, you can just tell Claude and it's going to run them for you one by one. So the logic is this: Claude triggers the workflow, n8n handles the automation, and Claude returns the result. But as I said, you need to have those automations and workflows set up inside n8n. Otherwise, this is not going to work. So MCP does not replace your workflows. It just simply lets AI use them. So it's like a bonus, right? You're already saving a lot of time by using n8n to create your contract, your invoice, sending it, notifying the team, etc. And on top of that, you're also saving your time for executing those. Before we move forward, a quick introduction about myself. So hello everybody, my name is Yashica and I am an AI automation expert. I have been into this space for more than 2 years now. I create content on YouTube so that even other people can learn from my journey and from my experiences and from my errors. And the other thing is that I self-learned everything because there were not so many resources to learn from, and that's also another reason why I create these videos. So if you're interested in more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and do like the video. Apart from creating content, I also run my own company called Automates AI, wherein we implement AI solutions for businesses. I started this company way before I started creating content online. But yes, if you're interested in automating your business with AI, then I will drop the link to my website in the description below. You can go ahead and book a call with my team to move forward with these AI implementations for your business. We basically set up AI agents, AI workflows, and AI automations for businesses. Apart from that, I also do coaching and consulting. So if you're interested in a one-on-one call with me, then the link to the calendar is in the description below. And yes, don't forget to follow me on LinkedIn as well as X for some more exclusive content. Again, links in the description. And just so you know, this video has been sponsored by Hostinger. So now that you know me, let's continue with the video. So now let's go ahead and set up our n8n MCP. Now just so you know, the n8n MCP works with both the cloud-hosted n8n as well as the self-hosted n8n. So just in case you don't know the difference between the two, let me tell you. So in case of cloud, you'll have to pay them a monthly subscription to keep your automations up and running. And in case of self-hosting, you basically host the platform on your own machine or on your own server, which means you no longer have to pay n8n. Now you would think that how is that possible? That is possible because n8n is open source. The code is readily available online and anyone can go ahead and, self-host it and run it on their own machines. And if you want to understand the difference between the two, so in terms of cost, cloud is at the higher end, and for self-hosting, you don't spend that much. It's at a fraction of the cost. If you talk about data privacy, it's quite obvious that if you're hosting it on your own machine, your data is private. And if you talk about the easiness, people used to go with the cloud plan because it was easy to set up. You just create an account, you pay them, that's it, you're good to go. And they thought that if you would self-host, then you basically have to code it out and you need to be technical, it's complex, etc. But that's not the reality anymore because there are VPS servers out there that can let you self-host n8n in literally a few clicks. And one such VPS is Hostinger's VPS, which lets you self-host n8n very, very easily. Just a few clicks, install, and that's it. No need to code, no need to be technical. And as you can see on screen, their Cyber Week sale is live, which means you're getting heavy discounts on n8n's self-hosting. If you buy their VPS server, you can create as many automations as you want on n8n. You can run them as many times as you want, even concurrently. You can access the community nodes out there, and you can also set up your n8n MCP. They come with a 30 days money-back guarantee along with a 24/7 support. You will find the link to this page in the description below. Don't forget to use this link if you're thinking of self-hosting your n8n. If you scroll on the same page, you will find the different plans available for this VPS server. And out of all of these, I would recommend the KVM2 plan, which comes with 2 vCPU cores, 8GB RAM, 100GB NVMe disk space, and 8TB bandwidth, which should be more than enough for your n8n instance. And again, if you need more power, you can always upgrade. And because of the Cyber Week sale, there is a 69% off on the sale. It's a limited time deal, so grab it before it's gone. So once you're ready, simply click on Choose Plan. Here you can go ahead and select for how long you'd like to get the VPS server for. So you can either choose 1 month, 12 months or 24 months. The longer the duration, the better the price. Then you can select if you want daily auto backup or not. And after that, select the server location which is the closest to you. And lastly, select the operating system, which in this case is n8n. And here you can see your order summary. And I also have a few more discounts for you. So if you're going with the 24 months plan, you can use the coupon code Yashica15 to get a flat 15% off on your cart value. There you go. And if you're going with the 12 months plan, you can use the coupon code Yashica to get a flat 10% off. And again, if you compare this price with the cloud subscription, you will see the difference yourself. So once you're ready, simply click on continue and complete the purchase. And now let me show you how you can go ahead and self-host it in literally a few clicks. So once the purchase is completed, you will land right here. All you have to do is go to the VPS section. There you will see the KVM2 VPS we just now bought. And all you have to do is click on the setup button. Then select the server location which is the closest to you and click on next. Then we have to choose an operating system. So I'm just going to search for n8n and I will select the first option. Let's click on select. Then you have to create a root password which you will use to log in into your VPS. So just create a password and make sure to store it somewhere. Make sure this is checked and click on finish. Okay, so it has been completed and now let's click on manage VPS. And as you can see, our server is live. Let's click on manage app now. And there you go, we can set up our account and get started. So create an account and then you will land directly onto your n8n dashboard. Basically, your self-hosted n8n dashboard. Alright, so n8n set up and now let's set up n8n's MCP. I'm back into my other account which has a few automations so that I can show you how this all works. And just in case you're looking for a crash course on n8n, I will link it somewhere above here which should give you a really good start with n8n just in case you're a beginner. And I've also covered a lot of n8n tutorials on my channel and some of them you're also seeing on the screen, for instance, the AI writer, etc. So I'll link that playlist above here just in case you want to create more and more n8n automations. So to set up the n8n MCP, all you have to do is click on these 3 dots and head over to settings. After that, you need to head over to MCP access, which is the last option in the list. Just in case you're not seeing this option, then that means that your n8n account has not been updated to the latest version. So please make sure to update your n8n to the latest version and then you will see this. As you can see right now, I'm on 1.121.3, which is giving me access to the MCP. Alright, so once you're here, all you have to do is toggle this on, which is going to give you a URL that we have to copy because we will need it later for the connection. And that's it, your MCP has been enabled. So our n8n account is MCP ready. Now we need to make our automations MCP ready as well. So when you connect this MCP to any AI app out there, it would only give that AI app access to the automations that you would like. It's not that it's going to have access to all the automations on your platform and it can run like any of them. That's not the case. You can handpick the automations you'd like it to access. For example, let's suppose that I don't want it to access demo classes logging. In that case, I don't have to do anything. Let's leave it like that. But let's suppose I want it to access my AI writer. In that case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on these 3 dots and I'm going to select Enable MCP Access. And that means that the AI apps can now search for this, also run it and execute it. The other thing is that your automation must be active to enable the MCP access. Just in case it's inactive, make sure to turn it on. So that was the basic access. Now let's take it a step ahead. Just in case you want to build this AI writer yourself, I'll link the video up somewhere here. So this AI writer writes really natural and human sounding blogs as well as newsletters. I have removed the newsletters line for now. So in this case, it's going to write blogs for us, which are going to sound natural, and it's going to email that particular document to us. Now, in this particular automation, I basically take a few inputs. For example, what is the topic for the blog? What is the raw content for the blog? Is there a target audience for the blog? So on and so forth. Now, how would our AI app know that, okay, I need to pass these inputs? So the AI app would know that through the description. So you would see this icon right here which says edit workflow description. And here, all you have to do is describe your automation. What is its job? What are the required inputs? How is the trigger structured, etc. For example, in this case, I've said this automation turns your ideas into polished content. Just fill in the inputs, it will craft your blog, then email it to you, which is going to be ready to publish. The inputs needed are, and then I have mentioned all the inputs that are needed. Once the automation completes, it emails me the blog. You just need to ask me to check my email. Don't mention my email. So right now what I'm doing is I'm talking to my AI app. For example, Claude. So I'm telling Claude that this automation would just email me the blog. So you don't need to send me the blog or anything. And just tell me to check my email. That's it. So here you can basically give it instructions as to what are the inputs and how the output should be, and also what the automation is about. You can write it in plain English, that's it. Your AI apps will be able to access that. And also make sure that the name of your automation is quite clear. For example, I haven't left it at Eva. I've also said Eva, your AI writer. If you want, you can also mention Eva, your blog post AI writer. So the more the details, the better. Now, we do have one limitation for this. So for the n8n MCP, they've said that your automation can only have 4 types of triggers. The first is on form submission, which is when you submit a form to run your automation. The second is the chat trigger, which is if you want to chat with your AI agent. The third is a schedule trigger. For example, run this every day at 9 a.m. And the fourth is a webhook. You can't use any other trigger out there except for these 4, or else the MCP thing is not going to work. And for some reason, just the form alone was not working for me, and that's why I had to add this respond to webhook node at the end of the automation that will just say that success equals true, form received, workflow completed, email sent. So it's just like an indicator to your AI app that everything has been completed. So just in case you're using any other triggers, make sure to replace it with one of these. It could be a webhook, it could be a form, it could be a chat trigger, or a schedule trigger. Alright, so it's on, description added, name fixed, and we are good to go. So now let's go ahead and let's see this MCP work in action, and let's see how it performs. So for the sake of this video, I'm going to show you how you can connect Claude with n8n using its MCP. So it's really going to be a handshake between Claude as well as n8n. So in order to do that, you'll have to download Claude on your PC. So it could be Mac, it could be Windows, it could be any other. And in this case, I'm going to click on Mac, and that should download Claude to my MacBook. And yes, just so you know, Claude requires you to upgrade to the Pro plan in order to use their custom connectors, which is going to basically help you do this MCP connection. Alright, so to move forward, all we have to do is head over to the settings. So in case of Mac, you will find it at the top right here. And in case of Windows, just search for settings. It would be somewhere right there. And then head over to connectors. Then click on add custom connector. Then we need to give it a name. So let's call it the n8n MCP. And now it is asking for the MCP server URL that n8n had provided us with when we had enabled the MCP access. So if you had copied it, great, paste it. If not, just copy it from there, which is under settings and then MCP access. Then click on add. After that, it's going to show you your MCP. Just click on connect. After that, click on allow, and you should be connected to n8n's MCP. So it's just going to open up a new tab in your browser. You have to click on allow, and that's it. The connection is made. After that, click on configure. And now here you can control the permissions. For example, for the read-only tasks, do you want it to ask for approvals each time, or do you want it to just do it by itself without seeking permission? So I have selected always allow because, it can do the read-only tasks. That's fine. And then again, for executing the workflows as well, you can choose if it needs approval or if it's always allowed. Now, I would suggest that you put it as needs approval because it's literally executing your automations. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to do always allow because I don't want to click that button again and again. Alright, so once this is done, we can head back to our normal chat and we can start commanding Claude to access our n8n executor workflows or do whatever. Alright, so remember I had that AI writer automation. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Claude to run my AI writer automation. So I'm just going to put some blog post from n8n, which is regarding n8n's MCP. And then I'm going to ask it to convert it into another blog post, which is in my tone and, with much more modifications and customizations. Now you would ask me that, Yashica, Claude can directly write a blog post, right? And I would say that yes, it can, but the automation that I had set up has been set up in such a way that it makes the blog post sound very natural. So that is why I'm going to take this approach. And by the way, this is not just limited to this blog post writing n8n automation. It can be applied to any automation out there. I'm just taking this as an example for you. So the interesting thing about this is that once you have done that entire setup, you can also access this MCP connection through your browser, which means you no longer have to use the app, which is great. And I don't know how that connection works, but it just works. In order to make the connection, you need the app, but then later on, you can switch back to your browser. Okay, so I've asked it to use n8n to turn this into a blog post. And this is nothing else but the documentation that n8n had released for this MCP thing. So as you can see, it first searched the workflows. So it queried using the blog post content, and then it found our workflow, which is ever your AI blog post writer. After that, it got the workflow details. And remember, we had also added a description. So yeah, that also helped it at this stage. Now, after it got all of this information, it went ahead and executed the workflow. So as you can see, these are the details that it passed. For example, the topic, the raw content. The raw content was picked up from the text that I had pasted. Then it decided upon the target audience, tone, etc. all on its own, and it executed the workflow. Right now, what is happening is that n8n is executing it on the background and Claude is waiting for the result. Since I had selected always allow, it did not ask me for permissions at every stage. But yes, if you haven't selected that, then you would have to give it 3 different permissions right here. Alright, so the execution was successful. As you can see, the blog post was successfully generated. And then it asked me to check my email for the completed blog post with everything. And there you go, I got the blog post as you can see. So let me click on this link. And here's the blog post. How to add AI magic to your workflows with n8n's MCP. That's the title. And this is the blog post. Alright. Just in case you want to also build this automation, I'll link the video somewhere above here. You can check it out. And then apart from that, we also had the SEO summary, etc., the quality scores, etc. delivered right inside our email. And it ended off by saying, I hope you like it. And that is how I didn't have to go in and fill a form in order to run this automation. All I did was I pasted n8n's documentation and I told it to, generate the blog post for me using n8n, and that's it. It ran the entire thing and it told me the output. And similarly, you can enable the MCP access for the other automations as well and then control all of them directly through Claude. You can also ask Claude to run them as a chain. For example, firstly run this automation, then run that automation. In this case, you could ask it to firstly run the blog post writer, then you check the blog post, then you run another automation which publishes it. So maybe 3 or 4 in a row. So we have seen how we could connect Claude and n8n through the MCP. Let's also talk about a few more use cases that I have in mind. So as I already said, this makes creating AI apps easier because you can easily connect n8n to your vibe coding platforms like Lovable, Replit, Claude Code, etc. So a really great use case coming up here is that you can use this MCP to create front ends using vibe coding platform. If you want me to create a separate video on that, do let me know in the comments below. If you do create a front end, then not just you, but other people can also, take benefits from your n8n automations. For example, a social media ad generator or a social media image generator. You can have even more customizations there and you can share it with your friends, your family, your team members, etc. or even take it live, who knows. Other use case is that if you want to connect n8n to your other platforms, for example, Retail AI. Let's say you're creating a voice agent and now you want it to access your engine automation. Then again, you can use the MCP. There's no need for you to use API again if you have the option of connecting an MCP for that particular platform. And yes, this is not just limited to Claude. You can also extend it to other LLMs out there that allow you to connect to an MCP. So those were some use cases I had in mind. If you have any more, do let me know in the comments below. But one thing I know for sure is that MCP is really powerful and it's only going to get better from here. So that's pretty much it for this video. I really hope you got value. Do let me know in the comments below how this video was and if you want me to cover anything else in the future videos. You'll find the link to Yashica along with the coupon codes in the description below. You'll also find the link to my website in the description along with the consulting calendar. If you want to follow me on LinkedIn as well as X, then you will find the links to those as well. The best way to connect with me is through LinkedIn, so don't forget to send me a connection request there. Alright, so let's end it here, but I really hope the concept of n8n MCP is crystal clear for you. If it is, then don't forget to hype this video. So yeah, I'll meet you in the next video. Till then, bye!